Hey guys, this is a build report for the 40th Fuzz. It's called the 40th Fuzz because it's not the 40th fuzz pedal that I've built. It is for a friend who is having a birthday. You can guess how old he's turning, and that's why there's a cake on the front. And I thought that it would be good to build him a pedal. I thought he loves fuzz, and this is my Facemaster, which you may have seen in previous videos. And I thought he would like one, so I've built him one. It's one of the benefits of being a pedal builder and having guitarist friends who can build them custom pedals. And this is the thing too, I mean, you go to a shop and buy somebody a pedal, they play with it a bit, a couple of years down the track, I'm sick of that thing, they chuck it on eBay. Something like this is something that you'd probably, dare I say, sort of treasure maybe for a bit long, for a longer period of time, something you keep forever. You know, because it's been handmade by your friend, you know, they've built it for you. I know if somebody gave me something, you know, for a hobby that I was interested in, or you know, a musical instrument of some sort, it's not something that I'd ever sell. It's something I'd treasure. It's not something that's been smacked out of a factory. It's something that someone has put their time, skill, and attention into specifically for you. You know, it's a without getting too warm and fuzzy, it's a sign that you care for the person. I mean, if you're going to go to the trouble of making something like this and putting so much time and effort into it, then you're showing the person that you care about them, instead of just getting a, you know, voucher for a music store or something like that, which just seems a little bit sort of thoughtless and empty. You know, I know we all don't have time these days, and these things are hard to do. You know, to spend, I mean, it probably took me maybe 4 hours to build this pedal. I did it on the weekend, and I just did it sort of one bit at a time, but it still takes time, you know. So, you know, understand that. But if you want to go, it's his 40th birthday, I want to do something a little bit special for him as well. So, anyway, yeah, I also got him a nice bottle of scotch too, Old Poltley 12-year-old, which is one of my personal favourites. So let's take a look at it. Now, the Facemaster I have covered in other videos. I did a specific video on the Facemaster, but you know, this one's a little bit different, a little bit more up to date than that one as well. Mainly in the aesthetic build of it, which I'll go over probably right about now. I'm also going to be doing a quick sound demo for those that haven't heard a Facemaster before. Very quick, this isn't going to be a double video, it's a sound demo and a build report in one, because I've already covered the Facemaster in previous videos. So this is not a Facemaster, I don't think, it's a different pedal, but I have it out for a particular reason. Just wanted to show you something. Put that one to the side for the minute. This one I can tell straight away, sanded the enclosure, and this one I haven't. You get a bit of a texture on the front, and although it's not really unappealing as such, I think it actually looks better if you sand it. So it's got kind of like an anodized look to the front, makes it look quite attractive. And you don't need to be very precise with the sanding, or you could just sand the top, because the top is the face that you see the most, which I'm wondering if that's actually what I've done there. No, I think I've probably sanded all, no, I've sanded all sides. But yeah, and you don't need to sand the bottom either if you don't want to, although it looks like I've actually sanded the bottom as well. So these enclosures have texture on them, that's just the way they are. They've got sort of, probably from like the foundry, they have like sort of black marks and things all over them. So when you sand them off, it cleans off all that stuff, and then it gives it that, you know, as I said, sort of like an anodized look. So I think it's worth the extra step, and you don't have to be too precise with the sanding, just sand it. Use a belt sander on it if you want, just give it a good sand to get rid of the imperfections all over the enclosure. So for those that have children, will understand when I say that you need to let go of perfection in your life, because it's difficult. Children, they're learning, and they need to make mistakes. They need to, you know, touch things they shouldn't touch. In this case, as you probably noticed, that big blemish on the front there. Unfortunately, the epoxy was absolutely perfect. I was so happy with it. Unfortunately, someone got their little fingers on it, and they put it upside down, on the tabletop before it had fully cured. It was 99% there. It was just tiny bit soft, and it kind of stuck to the table and caused that blemish on the front, which is just the perfectionist within me. It just drives me crazy, but what can you do? I can't put any more epoxy on it either. I know you can sand that down and epoxy again and it'll get rid of it, but the thread on those pots is so low that if I put another epoxy layer on top, I fear that I won't be able to put those nuts on. They're very tight, so it's just not enough. It's just going to have to be the way that it is. Let's call it James's mark. That he's put on the pedal. What can you do? And the other imperfection I don't like is this LED. Again, as I said, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when I'm trying to build these things, and they never turn out perfect. It's kind of frustrating being so anal about this stuff, not to be able to have these little imperfections. They drive you crazy. Need to sharpen my drill bits. They're a little bit, I think they've probably just got too much crud on them, really, and it's made a bit of a rough burr on the front. Apart from that, really happy with it. I mean, it does look great, even with those two imperfections. It looks. I'm very happy with it. I think I've done a good job on this one, particularly because painting I am no good at, and I actually managed to paint something that resembled the object, the subject matter. So it's cake, obviously, and I've just used a acrylic model paint that you use to paint models like what's it called, Warhammer and things like that. I've just got them for painting pedals, and I was doing a bit of figure painting as well. I've still got them, so I use those. And just take your time and just think about how you're going to paint it. You know, like the cake layer, the white layer first, and then go over it with the brown when that dries, and then put the candles on top, and then do the flame, and then do the little inside of the flame as well on each one. So you just sort of build it up in layers. That's what I do. I'm not a painter, as you can probably tell. I'm not a painter. I'm just trying to paint something that resembles the thing that I want to paint. So I think it turned out pretty well. So what else did I want to talk about? Well, I haven't actually built a 1590A for some time, so it was a refresher on how difficult it is to wire them up. It's not really something that you want to do if you're a beginner. What are these things? They look a little bit rubbish, but I was trying to think up something besides these little bump-on stickers, because they're kind of high, and on a 1590A, it just wobbles, you know, like it's the balance in the middle is no good. It just doesn't. They don't balance very well. So I was trying to think of a way to protect the back without using something that was high, and this would probably do the job. I don't think it's going to be very durable. They'll come off, but I don't have any bump-ons at the moment, so I have to use something. I just wanted to protect the back, so I've put those on, and I'll send it to him like that, and then I'll just replace them down the track. A low bump on would be good, something that is even like this kind of height. Just a few little squares would be okay, because you just want to protect the back and stop it maybe a little bit from skidding around, you know, with some sort of rubbery material. So that was the idea behind that. May not have been that successful, but that's what I did anyway. So let's open up the pedal. I'm just fishing around my drawer for a screwdriver. So as I said, they're very tight inside, and they're being ultra neat is probably not going to be an option because they're just so tight. So I would, you know, like I'd probably stay away from it if it's, you know, one of your early builds, you know, like your second build. I wouldn't recommend it, you know, like maybe wait till you've got a few under your belt before you tackle a 1590A. I don't know if 1590As are still in fashion. I mean, everyone was loving them a while ago, and I don't know if they're still popular. So this is it, and what can I say? These little mini mono jacks saved my life, particularly with 1590As. They're just so small. And one thing I want to say, sorry, I just had to fetch one of my little guitar link things. When you push them in, they tend to be a little bit tight. You can see that that's kind of the tip contacts really bent out to the side. You can easily alleviate that with just a pair of pliers, and you just push that in. It'll also make the guitar cable go in smoother as well, because they are quite tight. like, you know, it takes a bit of force to get them out. So just a little bit, just to stop them from bending back that far. That's what I usually do on these little mini mono jacks. I sell those on my web store, as I've talked about a lot, and I'm honestly in no, honestly in no hurry to change those, because they just work, you know. I mean, they might look cheap because they've got plastic housing around it, but they are very solid. The materials are quality. I think they feel like quality to me. You know, like you can tell when you've got a cheap jack. You put the nuts on and they don't go on, and you got to, you know, they get stuck on the thread and they feel like rubbish. And you know, these contacts, the tip contacts and the little lugs off the side are really thin gauge metal. You can just tell. You have issues with those jacks as well, or I have in the past, and I just couldn't be bothered with them. It's just not worth my time. You know, trying to save 50 cents on a jack and then end up spending an hour trying to find what the problem was. Same with these two lugs. If they're sticking out too far, you can bend them down. They are thick metal gauge, so you might need a bit of effort to actually do that. But yeah, I think I did it on one of these. I think it could have been that one. No, sorry, the one down the bottom there. I bent it up a bit just so I could turn it around. And you can also, because they're so small, you can have one, you know, like vertical and one horizontal, like I've got here. Because remember, when you put your little, well, not your links, but when you put your patch cables in, you're going to have two guitar, I've lost my train of thought, two guitar contacts close together. So just make sure that you've got room between those. I made a 1590A really close, too close, and those were really close together. I think it could have been the tip contacts, or maybe just the tips of the actual guitar cables. And if they're too close, you'll get what is it? I think it's called either crosstalk or feedback or something like that. Basically, it just creates a whole bunch of noise and it sounds like rubbish. Yeah, that's the cause. So just make sure you've got a space between the two tip contacts, so they're not too close together, and the actual tips themselves. So that's pretty much what I want to talk about with the jacks. The germaniums are actually only MP26B, MP42B. I can see it right there. MN42B. You might be able to see that. Let me bring it a bit closer. So you're probably going to rush off and buy those because they're actually really cheap as well. And by all means do. You won't get quite the sustain you will get if you use something that's like a little bit higher gain. These only go up to about 70 or 80. So they're not gonna sound as full on as if you use properly measured transistors. They will sound better. I've just put them in temporarily, and I've told him that he can go through my library of germanium transistors and pick which ones he likes. So we're just going to do some testing when I see him, and he can pick whichever germanium transistors he wants. He can go through however many he likes. So yeah, one other tip too, if you actually do want to build one of my Facemaster kits, is just watch that diode down there and the trim pot. I've made this layout so tight. That trim pot component is, I think, actually vertical. That's why it's so close. So just put the diode in first and then the trim pot. They do fit. You just got to put the trim pot up a little bit, like up over the top of the diode. So do the diode first. That's why you should always start with the lowest lying components and work your way up so you don't get stuck. If you put that trim pot in, it would cover up the diode slot, and then you wouldn't be able to get the diode in. So that's pretty much it for this one. I'll just give you a quick demo of the sound. I'll just plug it in and just play a little bit. I'm not going to do any commentary on it. Just give you an example of what it sounds like more than anything. And yeah, see if you like it. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Build a pedal for a friend. It's a great idea for a present, something that they can look at 10 years down the track. Oh yeah, and also make sure that you put a lovely message on the inside, so in 10 years time when he opens it up, he can read and remember the story behind it, I suppose, and your kind message that you've put inside. So let's have a listen to it, and thanks for watching. Let's go to the sound demo.